It is the only sports podcast, Power Rankings Casino, week 13, and there's a nice turkey for you right there. Eat up.
That looks fake.
I mean, it probably is,
Looks
but
rubber.
our power rankings this week very different from one another.
Hmm.
So for once, we have very different
Ow.
power rankings. You're gonna find out. Let's first start with you. Your number 10
They moved
is
up.
the Denver Broncos. Talk to them, Casino.
Bo Nix, rookie of the year. They've definitely moved up. The defense looks good. The offense seems to be clicking. And I think they have. God damn it. This is why. Yep. That's what all I got to say about that. Moving forward, I got to go take care of that. Continue. Next one.
Well, mine. Let's just jump over to mine, and I have some very nice Thanksgiving backgrounds for both Casino and I. We're going at 10, and we're just counting down because, again, like I just said, our power rankings this week are different. Usually they are similar, and our first couple ones are similar. So for this week, I have the Denver Broncos as well with Casino, and basically for uh what we've been saying, which is Bo Nix is
Okay,
having
let's go.
his yeah,
Let's
Bo
roll
Nix
through these.
is having his rookie of the year campaign is getting stronger and stronger every week.
Tis to lose. Tis to lose.
Yeah, they just won 10 points against the Raiders. Again, Bo Nix in this game,
They
2
should have beat the
touchdowns.
Chiefs.
They should have beat the Chiefs. They probably will beat the Chiefs the next time these two teams play.
I think so.
But again, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the year, 4 rushing touchdowns. He basically has 20 touchdowns on the season with 7 turnovers. So while all the eyes, including our eyes, were over focused on Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and Drake May, I mean, Bo Nix kind of came out of nowhere and is now the, I think, front runner. And again, it's going to take a lot for Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams is kind of slowly creeping up now past Jaden Daniels, but I still think it's Bo Nix's team to lose or award to lose. So that was our number 10s Casino. We're both the Denver Broncos. Now we switch back to your list, which is your number 9 is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, they
lose a
yes, they
devastating game.
Yeah, okay, so that they did lose that game, but we've already seen the Browns take down the Ravens earlier on in the season. Snow games, dirty, nasty games like that is, those are tough. Those are tough games to win. They just are. And the Browns they just beat them out. That was it. It was simple as that. So when it comes to games that are just, whether it's like a typhoon, or a big snowstorm, whatever it may be, you kind of got to take those with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So,
Also,
I mean, I think the Steelers are good. They did move back in my power rankings because of that, but I'm not going to throw them away just yet. I mean, because we still had Russ throwing 2 touchdowns in that storm. Still was a decent game for the Steelers. They didn't pull it out, and I'll take that because of the snowstorm.
Yeah, I do think again, now we're starting to see the same stuff we saw last year where it was just like, is Russell Wilson good? Is he bad? He's has 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in this game or so far in this season against the Browns. He was 21 for 28, 270 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, in a snow game.
1 touchdown?
So,
I thought he had 2.
No, he only had 1 passing touchdown. And again, they lose a tough divisional game on the road in the snow in Cleveland. So now all of a sudden, everybody throwing up their hands and being like, the Steelers aren't good and Russell Wilson isn't good. It's just like, can we calm down? It was the third. We all know Thursday night games are weird, and yet we all the next day or when we talk about Thursday night games, act like they're just like, we never said these were weird, and now this is fact. It's just, I've never understood that. Next up, Casino. Let's jump back to my list, which is my number 9. I have as the Los Angeles Chargers. And again, they flew back, or they went back a little just because, again, that was a very winnable game against the Ravens, and The Ravens in the second quarter of that game basically took that game over, and I never felt like the Chargers had a chance. It felt much more a blowout than the final score indicated. And with the Chargers, it comes down to what a lot of these like 7-6 win teams are, which is just like what we've said about the Commanders, which is, can you do this? Can you win games against teams with winning records? And that is my question mark with the Chargers, which is just like, you look at the teams they beat this season and they've lost to the Steelers, they've lost to the Chiefs, they beat the Broncos, they lost to the Cardinals. So you're losing, they lost to the Ravens. You're beating the Bengals and the Titans and the Browns and the Saints, but you're losing against all the playoff contending teams. So that's why they are so down. They're slipping a little on my power rankings because I don't think they can beat any of the AFC teams ahead of them. And again, we saw them beat the Broncos, but if they lose to the Broncos, they will have split with them, and that would be
Right.
legitimately their only
Like I
win.
said earlier, what regurgitating what Colin said, was they're the best team that's just not going to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And what is it? You have them much higher on your power rankings than I do. And again, for me, as I just said, they're a very good team. I like them. I would pick them against most teams in the league except teams with winning records, especially in the AFC, because I haven't seen them beat one except for the Broncos, who they're above. Next up, Casino, your number 8 pick is the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, they've moved up. Oh, okay, then go. Okay, go. My daughter had to tell me she had to use the restroom. Good for you.
There you
Go.
go.
No, yeah, they definitely moved up. I'm still worried with Jordan Love, but outside of my worry for him, like this team is good. I like this team. They are young. They're still feisty. They have 8 wins on the season now. Yeah, pretty much. That's all I got for it.
Yeah, Packers fourth in the league in total offense, and then their defense has gotten a little worse than it was last year. They're number 12th total in the league. So, but again, they lost against the or no, I'm sorry. They beat the 49ers, where the 49ers just looked like they gave up in that game. But again, myself included, a lot of people were like, this is the game where the 49ers pull upsets and then all the Purdy out with an injury stuff happens. So who knows? But if Purdy was in, do the 49ers win this game? I don't know, because the 49ers are a completely different team without their starting quarterback, as you heard my rant earlier on the show. But next up, my number 8 team, as I stall for time to find them, my number 8 team was Casino's number 9, and I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, because I don't put the Steelers ahead of them with a loss. Or I'm sorry, I don't put the Chargers ahead of them with a loss. And I don't feel like the Steelers, they drop a little in my power rankings compared to last week, but they're not out of it. Again, there's too many people just selling all their Steelers stock as if losing a Thursday night game in a snowstorm against a divisional rival is something that 99% of teams in this league wouldn't do. So when it comes to the Steelers, they're my number 8 team. I still think George Pickens is a top 5 wide receiver in the league. He would have been on my fantasy list, Casino, for our TikTok. George Pickens would have been. But I still really
Too
like
high
this.
for him. Too high for him. He's good, but there's way better receivers.
I don't know, but again, he catches everything. He finally has a quarterback throwing him the ball. Steelers right now, top 8 in total defense. I really like TJ Watt. So yeah, they're my number 8 team. Next up, Casino, your number bless you. Your number 7 team is team we just talked about, the Los Angeles
Chargers. Regardless on how I feel about them not being able to make the Super Bowl, which I still think is true, and I'm saying teams like the Steelers and those type of teams can. As you see my list here, and I even have Green Bay in there as well. They have a chance, but it's more the Steelers. I like the Chargers. I like what Harbaugh's gone in there and done with the team. Justin Herbert is finally being showcased on what kind of a quarterback he is. I think he's an outstanding quarterback, and he's finally getting some recognition for it. This team can start turning heads. They're going to make the playoffs. I can see them winning at least one game in the playoffs, but not going any further. I think they could be an upset team, but without the caliber of making the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think
And sorry, I have to keep popping back and forth. Have to take care of the kids while we
no, I
finish
get
the
it.
show.
My number 7 casino, a team you just talked about was see our power rankings are very similar, except we just have the same teams kind of jumbled, and that continues on the next row as well. So that's why I wanted to do them where we're just hopping back and forth. I mean, the reason I have the Packers above the Steelers and the Chargers, especially above the Chargers, is because I've seen this 8-3 Packers team beat legitimate competition, right? And then when they play teams like the 49ers, who are a team everybody's waiting to kind of, start start the car and get to the playoffs, they blow them out. They just won 20 by 28, 4 touchdowns against the San Francisco 49ers. They beat the Bears. They lost to the Lions, but then they beat, the Texans. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Rams. They lose by 3 points against the Vikings. So again, we're going to see this team really what they're made of in the final. They have the Dolphins on Thursday, which is by no means a win or a gimme game with how red hot the Dolphins have been. But then after that, we see the Lions, we see the Seahawks, we see them play the Vikings and the Bears. So again, they beat the Bears by 1 point. They lost to the Vikings and the Lions. They get a chance to, I mean, who knows? This team could win this division if they beat the Lions, right? If the Lions lose 2 games, all of a sudden they drop to the 5th seed, and who knows if the Vikings or Packers can win this division. So there's still a chance. There's still a chance. Next up, Casino.
Yes.
Your number.
See, we have all the same teams. They're just jumbled.
Yeah, that's what I said. Your next team, Casino, is the Baltimore Ravens.
That win against the Chargers puts them slightly above the Chargers. I liked what but we know this. The Chargers is a running team, right? And Baltimore's got a really good run defense. And that's what was showcased. They were able to stop them from doing what they needed to do on the ground. So they do move back up. Yes, I don't like the Ravens with having their 4 losses, but they're still a good team. I mean, that you can't knock that. What Lamar Jackson has been doing this season is just outstanding. Yes, King Henry's old. Some teams seem to have figured him out a little bit. But he's still King Henry for a reason. He's still Derrick Henry, and you still have Lamar Jackson. This team's always got a fighting chance. As long as they can just hold out their secondary, this team's got a real shot.
Yeah, I agree. But however, I actually moved them higher up on my power rankings because my number 16 Casino, I put the Minnesota Vikings as my number 6 team. So I think again, when I watch the Vikings play, I like everything I see. And as you know, I was on the Vikings bandwagon at the start of the season. My one hangup was Sam Darnold. Now, the farther we get into the season, there was that month lull where it was like, oh no, maybe Sam Darnold is what we thought he was going to be. But since then, he's basically, when everybody started to doubt and forget about the Vikings, this podcast included, the Vikings have slowly built up a 9-2 record. Sam Darnold in his last game, 2 touchdowns over 300 yards. Aaron Jones is catching on, or is like one of the best running backs in the NFC. If there wasn't a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley this year, Aaron Jones would be in that conversation for, is he one of the best running backs in the league? So I really like their offense. Totally. And again, they win against the Bears in OT in a game where they put up 30 points, and Justin Jefferson only had 27 yards in that entire game. So this, unlike the later Kirk Cousins Minnesota Vikings year, where it was just like all they have is Justin Jefferson and that's it. right? Now it's like they have Hawkinson, they have Addison, they have Aaron Jones, they have real weapons on
And
offense.
I told you once Hawkinson comes back, he was going to be a game changer. He won them that game.
Yeah,
He won them that game.
no, he
You
really
know,
did.
that was the target at the end of the game that Sam Darnold went to. I told you he was a security blanket when he came back, and he will be there when they need to pull off a win. It's exactly what happened. I called it with a fucking T, dude.
Well,
With
also, you have the Vikings as your number 5 team, so
Yep,
talk more about the Vikings.
it's just it's what you just said. Sam Darnold has turned a corner when people started doubting him a little bit. And he's like, no, no, I'm still here. I'm still here. And I think now, and it just showed with TJ Hawkinson and him, it he just got back to the team. They're going to get together and they're going to start having some real chemistry, which is going to make this team scary down the stretch. Because if you have a big target, that you could toss the ball up in a 1-1 and be like, here you go. I need you to catch this. There's a third down. I need a big target to take a hit I'm going to throw it to where you can get it, but you're going to get blasted kind of guy. That's TJ Hawkinson. He's going to get it. So that really opens this team up to, some late third down conversions that they're going to need. And as shown in this last game, game winning drives. So they're moved up, they're moving back up. And I do like them. They're sitting at 9-2. And as you said, I really like what this team is going to do. And I think this is going to make them scary going into playoff time.
Yeah. And then my number 5 team, again, I said we had similar teams. They were just swapped. So I would take the Baltimore Ravens right now over the Minnesota Vikings just because, again, they have 2 potential NFL MVPs on offense with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I just think I love the offense of the Vikings and I love their defense, but I think the Baltimore Ravens have the best offense in the league right now currently. And again, we've seen it where if you can stop their offense and score against their terrible defense, you will beat them. Right. But the thing with Baltimore is Lamar Jackson can beat you with his arm and his leg. And then if Lamar Jackson's off, you just give it to Derrick Henry and he has 170 yards or whatever he had in last night's game. I think it was around there. And they can just run the ball down your throat or Derrick Henry had 140 yards. So, yeah, they can just run the ball down your throat. They have Justice Hill, who is like the best backup running back in the league in terms of like blocking. Some of the blocks he gets on pass plays are just incredible. And he was the reason that Mark Andrews caught that touchdown last night because he gave Lamar Jackson enough time to find him. So I just
100%.
again, I like the wide receivers and pass catching options on the Vikings more, but I like the quarterback and running back more on the Ravens. And I think at the end, quarterback is what matters. So that's why they're ahead of the Vikings. Next up, Casino, we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and your next team is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, they're going to sit at 4. They're going to sit at 4. They barely beat the Panthers. And if they would have lost to that Panthers team, oh boy, would they have tumbled. Oh boy, would they have tumbled. They would have probably been somewhere in between the Chargers and the Packers.
Yeah. I feel like 4 is the lowest you can possibly drop the Chiefs. But boy, like you're saying, if they would have lost that game.
Just imagine if they lost to Denver, then they lost to the Bills, and then they lost to the Panthers out of the top 10.
Yeah,
They'd been out.
That's a dream we can hope for. All right, because
it didn't happen. So
no, but again, what more can we say about the Chiefs that hasn't been said? They're not playing up to what we've seen from them in the past, but still, they've only lost 1 game. Their defense is elite. Patrick Mahomes is now not throwing interceptions, so they could be moving up the ranks, but again, me and Casino both need to see it. Next up, Casino, your number 3 pick is, it warms my heart. It's the Eagles.
EAGLES, Fly Eagles Fly. Saquon Barkley, again, he's right there for the MVP candidate to being the number 1 spot for the MVP. But, it's typically a quarterback award. And that's why I have Josh Allen running that right now. But man, is he just outstandingly having the best time of his life. He loves playing for an offensive line. He loves playing for a team that is competent with a good quarterback, with an offensive line, with playmakers in the receiving game. So it's not just about running, but it's opened up his game tremendously, tremendously.
Yeah.
So I'm really stoked for him. And I think the Eagles, as you said, their defense number one right now. They have a true chance to, if they're able to get past the Lions or the Lions, stumble, however that may happen, going to be outstanding. Like they have a real shot of winning the Super Bowl this year, but you got to get past the Lions.
Yeah. My number 3 team might shock you, Casino. My number 3 team, I am actually putting as the Buffalo Bills.
I know you are, because you're a homer.
How dare you? You know, from especially on this podcast, that I'm not. But Josh Allen,
it comes down to the defense, doesn't it?
Yeah, Josh Allen, is having an MVP quality year. I would still have him second place to Saquon Barkley. But again, Bills defense 16th in the league. So if we have to shit on the Ravens for having a bad defense, they have a worse defense than the Bills, but that's why they're lower on the power rankings. And I don't think their offense is nearly dynamic enough. I think they finally have a offensive identity, which is Josh Allen doesn't have to be Superman and do everything, because now they have Cook there, who already on the season has 10 rushing touchdowns. But Josh Allen, 64% completion percentage, 2,500 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I think, again, the Bills are very good, but they're a 9-2 team that I just think the top 2 teams are in the NFC. But I do think the Bills right now are the best AFC team. So your number 2, Casino, is that very same team, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I've already talked about it. I think, he's playing like Superman. Okay, you're right about the defense, but you've been saying all season, you have to have at least a top 15 defense. Guess what?
They're 16.
Okay, well, top 16. So top 16. Regardless, middle of the road defense, and that's what they have. So that 16 is still 50. So they're still in the top half of the defense, and that with that and that quarterback play, that's why they have them at 2.
Yeah, their total offense is 13th in the league. So again,
and they're still winning games, and they just beat the Chiefs, and they look great doing it. So with all of those stats, and they're still crushing teams and looking like the way they do, how can you not have them at 2?
I agree. My number 2 pick, Casino, the Detroit Lions. I have the Lions at number 2. Again, this may be shocking. Casino's walking away. So this is the power rankings.
You are such a homer.
I'm sorry.
Okay. How can you need to play this for me, because obviously Lions are my one. How the Lions haven't done anything wrong. They haven't done anything.
They're the second best team in the league. I just said that. They
but no, the Eagles have looked shaky. The Lions have not looked shaky all season.
The Lions have not looked shaky all season, right?
Right.
Except in the game where their quarterback threw 5 interceptions. They didn't look
and
shaky.
They still
in that
won.
Game. Yeah, exactly. But the Eagles right now are, what is it? They have one loss. They're 9-2. The Eagles have looked shaky in 2 games this season, and they lost again. They should also be 10-1 if Saquon Barkley doesn't drop a pass that gives them a first down.
The amount of times that you have sent me a message this season saying the Eagles stress me out, they're going to lose.
Yeah, that's when they started.
But you've never said that about the Lions. Once.
But again, this is power rankings after this week we just saw. So after this week we just saw, I saw the Lions win 24-6 against a Colts team that neither of us think is good, with a basically rookie quarterback. And then I saw the Eagles win again by almost 4 touchdowns against a team that everybody was like, this team's going to upset them. This team's going to beat them. And then they dominated that entire game. Saquon Barkley, for the past, month of the season, has over 150 yards each game. The Eagles are on a 7-game win streak. They have the number 1 defense in the league. They're led by the perennial MVP if it wasn't a quarterback award. And right now, the Lions in total defense is 13th in the league. The Eagles are 1. The Eagles are 1. And again, the Eagles are, we keep hearing this thing where
Then they'll have to go through Detroit to get it done.
Well, again, but we keep hearing this thing where it's like, oh, Dan Campbell. The same shit everybody is giving to Sirianni was the exact same shit everybody gave to Dan Campbell last year, which was, why does Dan Campbell keep going for it on 4th down? Why is he such bad at clock management? The same shit they say about Sirianni, we have always said about Dan Campbell. Just because we like Dan Campbell and we don't like Sirianni doesn't mean we can't just separate these two coaches and be like, they're pretty similar in terms of coaching ability. Like, it's not, if it was a matchup between the Lions and the Eagles in the NFC Championship, you would not give the coaching edge to Dan Campbell. You would say both these teams are who they are despite their coaching for both. So
Okay.
again,
I'm going to back down. Only reason I'm only going to back down because we're short on time, and we don't need any more rants.
Also, this was your number 1 team, so that's why.
Yeah, because they've been number 1 and they haven't slipped at all. Yes, they beat the Colts and it wasn't as blowout like you expected, so therefore they're the worst team in the league. So
that's what I said.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, apparently they're the worst team in the league, and the Eagles, are just the best team in the league. It's whatever.
Yeah. But when it comes to, the Eagles or Lions defense, who would you rather have?
Eagles.
Okay, so offensively, they are the number 3rd offense in the league and the number 5th offense in the league. So would you rather have the number 5th offense in the league and the number 1
I'm going
to
take the most complete team.
Okay. Well, if you want to look at complete, both of these teams are oddly similar.
And so that's fine, and that's why I have the Eagles ranked really high. But right now, I can't knock. Okay, maybe you make a point where I could probably put the Eagles above the Bills. Fair, you got a fair point there, but I can't put them above the Lions when the Lions haven't done anything wrong. They haven't done anything wrong. Yes, they had that interception game, but they still won that game because they're a good team. So I can't take the Lions off the number 1 spot without them slipping, and they're not slipping.
Yeah. And of course, my number 1 pick, Casino. I have the Eagles. I have the Eagles as number.
Yeah, see, that's so dumb.
You're over here eating the turkey, eating the bird on the table. I'm over here letting that bird fly. That's why I have the Eagles.
So stupid.